This new episode of Docker, we're going to deal with the application Dockerizing. For this, we have taken Spring Boot together with Docker. Spring Boot is one of the famous OG backend frameworks which deals with Java or Kotlin. So for this, I have taken Java. I'm just showing you the Docker desktop, which contains many inbuilt applications to view your containers. I will show you at the end of this video. For this, I have taken a very minimal Spring Boot application which has few Spring Boot things like the Spring Data JPA, Spring Web Starter. It does not have much of things rather than a controller and then a single controller which has only one endpoint. It just prints you the list of regions, for example. Let's go to the browser and just try. What do we have? So it is not yet started. What I will do, I will go back to my application. JPA is there, but we have not connected to a database, so I've excluded the classes. You can see the application is started now, and this is a single endpoint that is present inside this application. It just prints few regions. That's it. It is also hard-coded. So what the steps that are involved in Dockerizing the Spring Boot applications basically is very simple, except in some cases where you have the database connection, it will be somewhat different. But here it is quite straightforward. What we have to do in a Dockerfile is that first you have to create a Dockerfile inside the root of the application. The first statement starts with from which base image that you need. Since this is a Java application, we are using a slim version since it consumes very less memory of OpenJDK 21. And then our work directory. Similar to what we have in our local systems, we need to have a directory mentioned in the Dockerfile where we are going to copy all the jars that are being created. So in the second line, you can see there is a work directory mentioned as /API. And then the jar file, where it has to look for the jar file, we have to mention it. It is inside the target /star.jar. And then followed by it, we are going to copy the jar file. As you can clearly see, the jar file is an argument. It is not yet copied. In the next line, we are copying the jar file inside api.jar, and then we're just exposing it to the port 8080. So it is rather 5 simple steps, and the final step will be the entry point, which tells the exact command what needs to be present to make the application run. So basic Java applications, we use Java jar command to run the jar as an executable. So in this thing, we are following the same, except we are going to provide everything inside the containers. The path where the jar is present will be the last argument for this entry point. Now that it is done, we are going to the PowerShell and let's start Dockerizing the application. I'm showing you that this is stopped from the local IDE, and let's open the PowerShell, and the path should be the same path where your Dockerfile resides. Docker will actually look for the Docker files that are present inside the current path. So now what we do is that we have missed a particular step. We have explicitly mentioned the Docker file that we should look for a jar inside it. But how will the jar be created? We should use the maven commands clean and install to get the jar for this particular application. This step, we can include it inside the Docker file, or we can build it and then we can append it. There are two ways to Dockerize a Spring Boot application, but this is the most efficient way, since making a jar inside a Docker file will make it to be more heavy than it should be. So in case if you're following a CI for the Dockerizing, you should first jar the application. You should actually prepare a jar of your application, and then you have to use the jar path to be noted in your Dockerfile. So now that the jar is created, we will follow the Docker build step. The Docker build is done. Now I have cleared it. The image creation step will be the different one for each and every Docker file. For each and every application that we are going to see next, it will be different. So now you can see I have the application up and running using the command run, and in the ID it is not running. So we have successfully Dockerized a Spring Boot application. I have said you that I'll open the Docker desktop and show you. So now I will quickly show you how it is there. We will stop it here, and Docker ps-a should show the image that was just dropped. Yeah. Let's move on to the command is docker run -p 8080 :8080. So the port that is being exposed inside the container and port that is being run, and inside the Docker desktop, inside containers, you can see the container that is running. You can inspect for the logs. You can inspect the entire image itself. You can see the mounts that are being bind to this, which we will see in a later part, and the files that are being present. It can also be accessed via the terminal and the stats. Whatever the memory usage, CPU, how it is, we can directly see it here. So that is enough for this. We will start the application from this Docker desktop directly via the stop button. So that is enough for this video. We'll continue on the next one.